Before we begin, I want to ask you something. And for that, I need to actually share a link with you. It's going to be in the chat. It's a Menti link. So, my question is, how confident are you in your drawing skills? Are you a pro? Do you believe you're a pro at drawing? You're good? You're not so sure about it. I might be in that range. I'd try. You're slightly confident, you know. You keep your drawings to yourself, or you're not confident at all. As I say, my drawings are like the ones of a 2-year-old, so I kind of keep them to myself, but if I have to show them, I do. So let's give it a couple of seconds to get more votes in, and we have a mix. It's a mixed voting, so you just choose the one that you feel. How confident do you feel about your drawing skills? Okay, so it's moving, it's moving. Let's give it a couple of seconds. And okay. So it is kind of mixed, but it's leaning towards not much confident in my drawing skills, which is okay. Because, you know, that's why we have this session today. As promised, we would like to unleash your inner artist because believe it or not, you can draw, you know. And, you know, it's, let me just share my screen again. So I'm going to introduce you to our guest today, both handsome fellows. First of all, Mijide Kemoli. She is an illustrator, game designer, and graphic recorder from Kenya. She uses a broad range of creative tools to help nonprofits, educational institutions, and socially conscious companies in educating their audiences on, a lot of topics regarding social issues. But she does it in a fun, engaging way through art, design, and a little bit of game. And I know she's going to be, a little bit kind of off balance, but about what I'm going to say. But just between me and you, don't tell her. It's just going to be in this room between you and me. A little secret. Um, Last Friday, she celebrated her birthday. So I want you to, have a little party in the chat wishing Mijide a happy birthday. No, she is an awesome person. In the meantime, that we've been working with her in this presentation, so just go crazy in the chat, wishing her a happy birthday. And I'm sorry, Mijide. Instead of a real gift, I just got this lousy gift for you. So, but I promise someday I will get you a real gift. And now I need to talk about this handsome fellow here on the screen. His name is Erick Kiarie. He's also an illustrator and graphic recorder from Kenya. And he's on a mission to transform how we communicate complex ideas. So he's an expert in turning abstract concepts into concrete images, making even the most complicated, intricate subjects accessible and engaging. And when he's not being awesome at doing that, he's, wrapping himself around the motorcycle world. So, as I told you, Mijide and Erick are here today on a mission, and that mission is to show you that you can draw. Period. So if you're ready, let's do this. Mijide, Erick, the show is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. And thank you so much for the birthday wishes as well. Very grateful. I'm happy to be in that category of under 35s, both in spirit and in actuality, in age. So it's very exciting to be here with you all. Thank you to everyone who's taken the time to join us here today. And we hope that you'll enjoy this session, that it will be fun for you to let loose if you're used to being in very serious spaces, having a staunch face and having to keep it collected and cool. Today is your chance to relax, be free, and get to be creative with us. So we're going to dive in. We have a brief presentation for you, and then we're going to get into some activities that we know you'll enjoy. So we'll get into that now. If Erick, you could share the screen, please. Yeah, and I was happy to see how the poll went, to see that there was a balance. There were some people who were not super confident yet that they can draw, but maybe by the end of this, you'll be extremely confident. That's what we're hoping to get. And to take it step by step and see what you can also integrate into the work that you're already doing, how you can also make it more engaging for your audiences and stimulating for them as well. You okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So we're just about to share the screen. Okay. It's still loading. Okay, there we go. There we go. So, welcome to our session, Future Now Visual Facilitation for Beginners, for you to unleash your inner artist, no matter your age, no matter how good or bad you think you are at drawing. We are going to unleash our inner artist. So let's dive into it. And kudos to Erick, by the way, for putting together this amazing mental canvas. That's also a program that I think he'll tell you briefly about. That's an engaging way to get people to relate to your message. So to get it started, we're tackling the topic of visual facilitation, which is also known as graphic facilitation and graphic recording, depending on the space you're in or depending on how people prefer to describe it. But what we really want to know is what it is. So, visual facilitation, in a basic sense, is the art of capturing ideas in real time using digital or traditional tools. So, what do we mean by that? Digital tools includes digital devices. Those could be anything from your Microsoft Surface Pro to your iPad Pro to other creative digital tools that people use. So you'll normally have the tablet and the stylus. So you draw directly on the screen. There isn't too much of a mess that you're having in your space in terms of pencils and rubbers and all those other tools. But you still get a similar outcome on your digital platform. So, for example, this image was created on iPad Pro using a program called Procreate. So you have that, and then there's the traditional tools. So that you'd have a board and then use markers, anything from markers to crayons to color, pencils, pens to then communicate your idea and create an artwork that encapsulates the message that's being discussed. So, how have we been presenting? What's the usual way that we find a lot of people or a lot of organizations presenting? Well, to put it nicely, it's a lot of death by PowerPoint. So you find a lot of PowerPoint presentations, a lot of heavy text. It tends to be, oh, before I go any further, please make sure you have your papers and pens for this session. Yes, but we normally have the death by PowerPoint heavy text, which tends to be mentally exhausting for the audience, which can end up then being boring, repetitive, especially when you're seeing so many words crammed together and you're trying to process it all, but then it keeps coming at you. And it's a lot for the brain to be able to take, especially over a long span of time. So, visual facilitation seeks to change that, to change the way people interact with content, to change the way people interact with the message. So, how can visual facilitation be used and where can it be used? You'll find it typically at workshops, meetings, conferences, and it can also be used in reports and research. And the way it ends up being used enables people to take in a message without going through too many holes and hills and valleys in trying to understand language. If there's a language barrier, if there's technical terms that people can't exactly relate with, then visuals are able to break through those barriers. Someone may not be able to understand a particular language, but they will definitely understand an image. For example, this image that's on the screen, I don't have to attach any text to it. You can look at it and be able to get the message. This person is drawing, and the people in the background are really amazed. And typically, that's what you'd find during a visual facilitation session. So it's able to compress information because when you have all that content, you want to ensure the people that you're communicating it to will actually read it and will be able to take in what you've put down and remember it in the long run. So when it's in a visual format, it's easier for them to recall. It's easier for them to then share as well with someone else. So the shareability of it is also a boost. And then when you have your reports, your research papers, you're looking at about 100 pages, 30 pages. You can find all that information can be compressed into 2 images and communicate the key ideas that were in the entire report. So if that doesn't convince you as to why you should use images more, then maybe these statistics will. So we can move to the corner, please. Yeah. So how does the human brain process visuals? So fun fact, images are processed 60,000 times faster than text. 60,000 times faster. So at a glance of an image, someone is able to process the message that's being communicated through it as compared to if they read a paragraph or 10 pages of text. And on top of that, it takes 13 milliseconds to process the image. So the speed at which it's processed is faster, and then the time itself, 13 milliseconds, like that's insane. So what is the value of visual facilitation? Well, number one, as I mentioned, it's a universal tool. People understand it across whatever barriers it is. Someone may have a low literacy level or a high literacy level, but both can still be able to understand an image. And if it's drawn out well, and I'll show you how to do that, then someone is able to take the message that's within the image, whether they can read or not, which is a barrier that you've managed to break down compared to if you're reading an entire report. Then second, it's visually stimulating. For example, looking at this presentation, I'm sure it's interesting for your eyes. It should be interesting for your eyes to look at. So it's visually stimulating. And then it's easier to comprehend. When you see color, when you see drawings, when you see all these different elements put together, it makes you curious. You want to know, okay, what is contained within this artwork or this image? Then it's faster to remember. You may not necessarily remember each individual word that's present in this uh, image that we've projected, but you'll remember the hand that was holding the diamond, and that will remind you, oh, that was when she was talking about the value. Or this person that's drawing on the board, that's when she was talking about how it can be used. So it makes it easier for you to recall the information that you hear during sessions. And then lastly, it's engaging, it's interactive. If you go to a space, if you go for a meeting and you're engaging the group, you're talking about different themes depending on what your area of focus is, and then you take out your pen, your pencil, and you begin sketching out the idea, it will pique people's interest beyond the conversation you have, seeing that conversation come to life on paper will even make it easier for them to make connections in whatever it is that you're discussing. So there are definitely a lot of pros, and it's a great tool to have in your arsenal when you're carrying out facilitation for you to help people to work through thought processes and also to have a creative way of recording what the experience was like in the space. So that's it from me for now. As you can see at the top, it's myself, Mijide, Erick, and again, very excited to delve into this topic with you. And another reminder, or reminding you again, to please have a paper and pen, which you'll be needing in a few. And over to Erick.
All right. Thank you so much, Mijide, for that. First part of the session today. Hi, everyone. My name is Erick, and I'll be taking you through the next part of this session. What you can see here is a tool that is called Mental Canvas. So Mental Canvas, if I can just start from the very beginning, this is a tool that you can use 2D elements in a 3D space. So it's kind of like, for those who are familiar with 3D editing tools, so it's kind of like having a 3D tool, but now it is made to support 2D elements. As you can see, I can move either horizontally, diagonally, and the way that we've designed this session is for it to be very engaging, something very new. This is a new technology that is out there. I'm sure if you're in the space of digital facilitation, you might have come across, especially on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, people having very engaging, very diverse, infinite softwares and tools. So this is just one of them. And I'm going to take you through the second session of this. So how does visual facilitation break barriers? So this is done, as Mijide has said earlier before, it is done to break barriers. So how do we break these barriers? One way to do that is by visuals are a universal language. So we try to go back to the very basics of our childhood education, whereby we were taught that if you see this, this means this. So if you see a picture of a tree, you immediately know this is a tree. So images and symbols can communicate across different languages, thus reducing misunderstandings if there so happen to be any. Visuals are also a form of non-verbal communication, which they can convey messages where words might fail, especially in multilingual settings. I'm sure you've found yourself in workshops or in settings whereby we have different people who speak different languages, and then sometimes interpreters might not be able to translate certain words or certain expressions. Hence, the visuals do come in place. This is a way to level the playing field and make sure everybody is on the same page and everybody is able to understand everything that is being communicated. Another way that visual facilitation can break barriers is by engaging diverse audiences. Like we had said before, as a form of nonverbal communication, what this does is it fosters inclusivity because visuals do engage people of different ages, backgrounds, and education levels, just as Mijide has spoken about earlier. It doesn't matter if you're learned or if you've had the highest form of education or you've had the least form of education. We can all relate to visuals, as we also try to use very context-specific images. We try to use images that are very relatable depending on the places that we are. And then another way that visual facilitation for that matter can break barriers is by facilitating learning and retention. So we are all visual creatures. So some learn more, or rather most of us learn more when we see things being done, kind of like show and tell. Hence, visuals are often easier to remember than text, which this in turn helps to reinforce learning. And then when we combine text with images, it does enhance learning by engaging both the visual and verbal processing systems that we have in our brains. That is also a very key and integral part of visual facilitation, is we do not only use visuals alone, we also use text to accompany or to give more meaning to the image or to add on top. The visuals are just some icing on the cake, just to push the message home and to make sure that that message, it sticks. And then just to finish up on how it breaks barriers, drawings can be used interactively in group settings, encouraging everyone to contribute. And that also goes in hand with idea sharing. So if we have an image, let's say, of a person on top of a donkey, holding a stick with a carrot, that fosters an environment whereby people can interpret it differently, and that can bring up very interesting conversations that can cause people to see different views and understand people's different views, which all in all is essentially what we are trying to do in facilitation, is we are trying to get people to be interactive, to the information to inevitably come out of them, not us trying to push out the content from them. But we're trying to make these sessions as interactive as possible. So visuals are very powerful tools. And how can we use such tools for engagement? What you can see here is visuals are a good form of engagement. Like I had said earlier, apologies for that. I don't know where the sound is coming from. Can you hear any sound? No. Okay, so let me just continue. Visual facilitation can be used for tools of engagement. As you can see on the picture here, we do have, this is actually one form, or this is a session that I attended on Twitter. It was a Twitter space, and the topic was about, do you have a mentor? So we condense all this information that can happen from either an hour to multiple days and condense them into one canvas or a one pager, which contains all the information that was being discussed. And all this can be shared on social media, can be printed and passed around. And this forms a tool of engagement in that it can spark a conversation. It can, like we had said earlier, it can be a form of a memory retention. You can actually see the pictures, read a form of what, and actually remember what was being discussed earlier. You can also use it as a tool for I beg your pardon. You can use it as a tool for campaigning because visuals can actually enact a certain feeling, a certain emotion, if that is something that you want to achieve, especially if you're doing things like fundraising, creating awareness. You can use visuals to help push that message home. Another way that you can actually use visuals, or rather, we're going to go through some of the best practices for online and offline. I'm just going to give it a second. Has it come? Not yet. I'm just going to stop my share for a bit, and then I'm going to share my screen again, just to make sure that we are on the right page. Okay, great. Now, what are some of the best practices for using visual facilitation, whether you're using it online or offline? Now, one of the best, these are not only the ones that some of the best practices, but these are some of the practices that I would consider them as some key as practices that you can actually choose. Now, depending on the kind of platform or whether you're doing it online, whether you're doing it offline, whether you're doing it using digital tools or traditional media, you just have to choose the right tools. And this is different from person to person. For example, I am more comfortable using digital tools. Mijide is more comfortable using both digital tools and traditional tools. So you see, people are a bit different. So depending on what works best for you, choose the right tool that works with, just to make your work a lot more easier, a lot more seamless, and a lot more effortless. And another best practice is to engage actively. Now, what do we mean when we say engage actively? You can use visuals that actually spark conversations. They can provoke thought. That way, you are creating a situation whereby the audience itself is giving you that information. The audience themselves are contributing and having a meaningful and impactful conversation that eventually will lead them to achieve the goals that they're trying to achieve, or to achieve the goals that you as a facilitator are trying to achieve. Another way is to keep it simple. That is a session that is coming after this, but there's usually an expression that keep it stupid simple. The reason why we keep it simple is because as you are a visual facilitator, sometimes you do not have that time to actually make very detailed drawings. You don't have that time to, to make changes. As these conversations are happening in real time, you have to, be very quick on your feet. You need to think very fast. So in a best practice for you to enable you to do that is to keep it very simple. Another best practice is to encourage all voices. Like we said, it's part of also engaging actively. So when you encourage all voices, just as example I used, as a man on a donkey with a stick, at the end of it with a carrot, that by using such visuals, you can again spark conversation, you can provoke thought. Eventually, that will lead you to achieve the goal that you have at the end. Another thing is to relax and be present. As a visual as facilitators, you have that nervousness, that feeling of having butterflies in your stomach just before a session starts. So as since you'll be drawing, you want to also be be present in the moment. So you need to relax, take a breather in between. If it feels too stressful, if it feels too much, you can actually, whenever there's a session break, you can actually have a break just to recollect yourself and get back on the horse and do it. Another key best practice, is to always plan ahead. So essentially, as visual facilitators, we try to, especially if we are doing it physically, we try to get there at least an hour early so that you can have a sense of the room, so that you can plan where you're going to set up your devices or set up your tools of trade. You can actually have a sense of the environment. You can actually know where the washrooms are, because you need to know where the washrooms, because you will not have enough time, to move around. So you need to have set yourself whereby you have a clean and clear pathway in and out if you need to dash out. And another best practice, especially if you're starting out as a visual facilitator, is to share your visuals. We live in an age of online and internet and social media. So one way that internet has come is to break barriers. So, and break, geological or geographical barriers. So share share your visuals on social media. You can share them online. It's a great way to show that people that you have this particular skill and that you are offering it as a service. Another best practice that goes hand in hand with planning ahead is testing your devices and connection. This is very crucial, especially if you're doing it online, because you're not physically present in that space, but you need to plan ahead, have a pre-session testing just to make sure everything is according to plan. Make sure also your devices are well charged. You have ample internet connection, or if you use, like for example, here in Kenya, we do have, if we're not able to use things like Wi-Fi, we do have bundles or data bundles for that matter. So make sure that you have enough and also use them as a backup just in case the power runs out or there's a lag in the internet connection. Just make sure that you have everything in place. And finally, this is a fun one: dash to the washroom whenever you can. For us, especially for us visual facilitators, we do not have that luxury of leaving the room. Even when people are having discussions, we unfortunately don't have that pleasure to leave the room, because something might be spoken out and you need to be there in order to hear it, in order to capture it. Something that I usually do, with the permission of the client, of course, is ask if it is possible to have a recording of the session. So on top of me listening, I do have a small recorder. It can be, you don't have to have like a full professional recorder. You can use your phone. Just put on the recorder app and start recording, so that later on, after the whole session is ended, you can actually go back and listen to the audio recording, and then you can be able to hear whatever you were not able to capture. Even if you are in the room the whole entire time, you can go back and listen. Probably there was something that was spoken about, but you were too busy drawing that you couldn't hear, and then you can finally include it in the illustration work at the very end. And now we're going to go through some of the tools of trade that we actually use. So as you can see, this small illustration just shows all the tools that we use. So we have a pencil, we have painting, and mind you, visual facilitation is not only limited to, pen and pencil. You can actually, some use painting, some use even their hands, or their body parts, it is capturing the information in a visual manner. So we have digital tools in this small illustration. We do have also the drawing board that we have. And some of the tools that I use, aside from these, are now digital tools. You can use Canva. You can use, I believe this is Miro. You can use Jamboard. You can use PowerPoint. This is Sketchbook Pro, and this is Procreate. And the app that we are using currently right now, it's called Mental Canvas. Just to take you now to the final part of this session. So how can visual facilitation be used by one who isn't a professional? Now, you might be there as a facilitator, but you're trying, you do not have that, you're not very confident in your skill in drawing, or maybe you're just starting out. How can you use such visual facilitation as you're starting out, or you're just trying to get, or maybe you're trying to upskill in your facilitation work? So like we say, just use very simple figures and basic drawing shape. And that section we are going to be going into the next one after this one. And then we do have, like, for example, Miro and Jamboard. I do know that they do have some templates that you can actually use in your facilitation. You can leverage templates and frameworks. So we do have mind maps. You can use hierarchy diagrams and such diagrams. They're available on such platforms that you can use. And I do believe some of them are free, so you can use such templates. And then you can use digital tools like Canva. Canva and PowerPoint, they do have icons that you can use. You can actually use shapes and build. You can, let's say, for example, you can use circles and rectangles and you can build a tree out of them. So just using icons and shapes that are readily available on such digital tools. That is one way that you can use visual facilitation. And then you can use visual facilitation to encourage participation. Suppose you're not very good at drawing, but you can actually use tools such as Google. You can type in a certain expression and Google will be able to produce images that that other people have used. Or you can even use AI. We are in the age of AI. You can actually use AI to come up with visuals that can be thought-provoking and that can incite conversations. And finally, this goes hand in hand with using visual aids. You can download an image from the internet. You can use AI tools just for you to make your sessions a lot more engaging and a lot more impactful. Again, so in this next session, we're just going to show you some examples of graphic recordings or video facilitation work that we've done before. And I'll hand it over to Mijide, and that she will speak on her part.
Okay, thank you so much, Erick. So I'll just go through this super quick. So this was a visual summary that I designed for a client who had done a research and had collected feedback from citizens about matters to do with citizen engagement. So finding a creative way to explore some of the responses that people gave. For example, I don't know how clear it is on your end of the screen, but then there's a green, oh, you can actually zoom in, right? Yeah. There's a into the green monster. So there's a creature around the lower left. There we go. Yeah, that creature. So I was depicting the theme of corruption, like now efforts to curb corruption. So when you hear people speaking about the theme of corruption, it always is painted as a beast, basically, that we're doing our best to slay, particularly in a country like Kenya. We have a very big issue with corruption, and it's a beast that we need to slay. So I envisioned it as someone being in battle, and you have the sword, and then there's this creature that's guarding the money. So it's a different way of exploring themes and a way to draw people in using color, using even people that they can relate to. For example, if you zoom out, please. There, if you look at the people in the image, those are characters that the citizens can relate to because they look like them. So that's also very important in the images that we create to make people feel like they're seen and included, including people with disabilities, people of different backgrounds and heritages and cultures, and also seeing how we can be able to put our individual touch in the form of culture in the work that we do. So this is one example. And then there was one more from my end. About two more. Okay, so there was this one also to do with online health scams. So there was an issue with um, period products that were being sold to women that were substandard or were actually not products that they should be using in the first place and were unsafe. So I sat in on a meeting, and then these were the key ideas that I put together and found a way to also combine the color to evoke the mood of the discussion. And then we had more to do with road safety education, which is going to pop up in a moment. It's not showing. It's loading. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, we have this. Thank you. Image also to do with the road safety problem. So capturing the various statistics. For this one, I also sat in on a meeting and then got the key ideas, noted them down, and found a way to depict them in a way that could catch people's eye and draw their attention to the different elements that tie into the greater picture. So these are just a few examples on my end. And of course, like Erick said, I have my unique style. I'm an illustrator. That's my background. That's my training. So seeing how to tie that into graphic recording and visual facilitation in itself and helping people to understand the message. Over to you, Erick.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Because of time, we are going to move into our next session whereby Mijide will now be showing you how to actually use such skills in a video facilitation work. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen right now, and then Mijide will take over in the next session.
Okay, there we go. All right. So here we have Sketchbook Pro. Oh, by the way, I saw there are a lot of questions in the chat. We will definitely answer those once we're done with the session. But thank you for engaging with what we're sharing and for all those really good questions that you've asked. So this is Sketchbook Pro. This is one of the tools that I use when I'm doing graphic recording, graphic facilitation. When I engage with clients, normally this will be projected either while I'm working or at the end of the process. And then here is one of the styluses that I use. So this is a Surface Pro pen and it's rechargeable. This is the charging port. So put it in, it's magnetic and it charges that way. So I have some 3 images here, which I was hoping that we can quickly do a brief exercise, see if we can sketch something down and maybe have a peek at what you've come up with as we prepare to do a small exercise in graphic recording just to see how you respond to it. So we'll begin with this. So what I want to do before I dive into it, I would like you to look at these images and just write in the chat um, your thought on what you think the image conveys. So you could choose one of the images, you could write about all 3, but if you were to see that somewhere, what message does it convey to you? So if you can just write it in the chat, what do you see and what do you think the message behind the image is? So these are tools or these are illustrations you'd find on occasion communicating certain themes. So I'd love to hear maybe in the next 10 seconds, 15 seconds, if you can just type in the chat what you think, what it speaks to you. Oh, nice. I like. Oh, oh, this is nice. Movement, unity, love. Oh, I like joy, growth, care, adventure, community, ecology. Start with heart from crucial conversation train. Oh, you all have depth. I love it. Sports, nature, gratitude, youth, growth, and love. Yes, for green, compassion. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's the amazing thing. I can see there's some recurrent responses. I see a lot of growth. Yes, there's the element of growth. There's care. There's movement. Movement forward, you could say, to be particular. But yes, progressing into something. There's calmness. There's peace. There's love. There's travel, conservation, dynamism, freedom, happiness, bloom, care. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for your feedback. All right. So now we're going to dive into a short exercise, just a few minutes, and we see what you come up with. You can put on your cameras and show us what you've been able to jot down on your papers. So we are going to sketch out our own interpretation of these images. So we can start with maybe the super basic one. We have the tree here. So as Erick said, you can see a lot of shape in it. You can see the curves, you can see the bends, but there's also simpler ways to draw a tree. So if I can just tilt my screen a bit. So this one may be more abstract, you could say more artistic, which I normally would do because of my illustration background. But normally for a tree, you'll have, of course, the stalk like that, and then the branches branching out. If you want something more simplistic, you'll have the branches. If you want to be a bit more fancy, you can add some other branches within the main branch. And then if you observe here, and I like that a lot of you picked up on it, there aren't, it kind of would look like leaves, but if we were doing something more complex, they would actually be hands. So that's typically what you would see depicting community. So community, you have all these different people that come together to embody it, and then they form the whole, which is the tree. So for that, you have 5 fingers, of course. So you can draw something like that. So they're an open hand, to be particular, because you could draw a fist, but then I don't think we'd get the same kind of message from it. So we draw the hands, and then the more we add them, then the bigger the community tree looks. So if you also want to make it look a bit more fancy, you can add curves like those and grooves to truly show the tree. So that's a way you can explore it. Yeah. Oh, I should have told you to draw along with me. I don't know if you're drawing along with me, but even so, I'll give you a few minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes to get that drawn. Yeah, I can actually give you maybe 2 minutes and then now, or a minute, and then we can move on to the next one. So you can maybe give me a thumbs up in the chat to let me know that, or some sign that you've done your drawing, you're good to go. Okay. I hope this isn't too intimidating. Oh, good, Alicia, well done. I hope this isn't too intimidating. So just starting basic like that. And then slowly let me transition to the next one because of the time factor. So here we have the hand with the heart above it. Typically, you'll find it symbolizing care. It also ties in with community, with the sense of peace as well, and different themes around calmness and positivity. So for this, the hand would probably be a bit complicated because of the different positions of the fingers. And fun tidbit, for artists, typically you'll find the hands are the hardest things to draw. Funny enough, people normally assume it's the face, but the face is very, very, very easy. It's hands and toes that are really a challenge to draw. So for this one, can make it a bit simpler. So we have this curve like this, and then we have the thumb over here. And then instead of drawing all those fingers in different positions, we can just draw it like that, and then curve back down, and then maybe add like one or two over there, and then the little heart on top. So this is a simpler way of doing it that's a bit less complicated. If you want, you can add a nail also over there, and here, here, yeah. But this is a bit less complicated, and the message will still be conveyed. So that's a bit of a simpler way to get that one done. And then we move here. So this one is like the ultimate drawing that probably would be a bit more challenging. So for this one, we really employ that idea of shapes. So we have the face. So you can make it simple. You can make somebody that's facing forward, add the nose, the eye, maybe a smile over there, eyebrow. Then curve the back, and add some hair. So the hair is kind of like a cloud, and then you can add little miniature puffs in there. And then we have the neck. Then can have this curve for the shoulder. Then a hand coming in front, like that. We can have, oh, let me do that one again. With the bend. So can have that. And then you see the arm is on this end. So if I draw the leg here, it would look very unusual. So I have to draw a straight leg on this side and make sure that we have the wider section there. Then moving down, and then, oh, the knee is too close. Yeah. Just super simple to get the message across. The dimensions may not be typically what you'd find like now for professional artists and all, but it communicates the message. It shows that somebody is walking and they're stepping forward and putting one leg in front of the other, and it communicates your message and puts it across. So those are some of the basic symbols, give you a basic idea. And I hope that that at least gave you an opportunity to be a bit creative. Yeah, and to try out and test your artistic skills. Okay, thank you. I will hand it over to Erick now to take us through the next part. I hope you enjoyed that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mijide, for that session. So I just want to get a feeling in the room of how everybody is feeling. Feel free to let your mic on, or you can type in the chat, just so that we can get a sense of how you're feeling it so far. And if you feel like you want to share some of the drawings that you've had, please, you can turn on your camera if you haven't already and show us. Do not be shy. It's a free and open space. Oh, Olivia, I see. Alicia, sorry. That's a very nice tree.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Oh, Erica, that is, wow, that's cool. That's so cool.
That's really nice.
Anyone else? Mutaz, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. You feel inspired. That's wonderful.
Well,
Gladys.
definitely, I got some ideas when I'm giving training. These are like engagement tools that I can make use of, which I've seen this before, where you can summarize, let's say, a certain topic on a one sheet graphically. That's very useful, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, amazing. I'm seeing some wonderful images from Gladys, and the rest of it. You guys are naturals. You guys are naturals. Just give it a little practice, and you guys will be visual facilitators in no time. Great. I'm seeing the time has gone a lot, so we did have some more activities to do, but I think we are going to jump into a very small discussion. And for this particular session, we are going to simulate a conversation in a workshop whereby a visual facilitator would find themselves, and we will do a drawing live. We will do a visual facilitation live. So the topic is, what are some of the benefits of facilitation? Some benefits of visual facilitation that you feel would help you in your work. And for that, I'm going just to share my screen, and we are going to witness this happening live as we wind up our session for today. So this part is going to come from you guys. What do you think are some of the benefits of visual facilitation?
Quick understanding.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Quick understanding.
Engagement.
Okay.
Instant appeal, Erick.
So we said create understanding.
It helps to involve humans' emotions, and it will make them make better decisions, maybe.
Okay, so it's more emotive and boosts decision making. Okay, I like that. Comprehension, makes it easier for people to understand, easier to remember. Oops, sorry. Ooh. Easier to remember. Memories, faster decision making, so that's speed. Then it boosts focus. I like that. I'm curious, Mutas, your comment, faster decision making. I'm curious whether you've had a chance to witness that either attending a session or being maybe facilitating one. Have you been able to see that in action?
Actually, I attended certain presentations before where the facilitator used visual tools. And for me, because you get better comprehension quickly, this will help you decide faster. That's the idea, you know. If you are trying to investigate a certain matter, but you really have full understanding because of visual tools, then you're able to decide quicker. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, very nice. Thank you so much. Everything in one place. Very true, very true. I don't know if I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. No, I don't want to make a mistake. Jagannathan?
Yeah, it's Jagannathan. Yeah.
Okay, Jagannathan. Okay. Everything in one place. I like that. I don't know if you've ever interacted with visual summaries other than the one you saw in the presentation, like now maybe having a very heavy report or heavy content and then seeing it all in one place, or is this the first time you've seen it, like visual summaries and such?
Yeah, I just added, simplifying complex issues. We say a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? That's an old English saying, I think, anything complex, you try to summarize it and simplify it by using visual techniques.
Yes. Absolutely. In fact, something that I also do when I'm creating visuals for a client, I normally test them out with children, actually. So if a child can understand the image and the message it's communicating, then I know for sure an adult should get it. So definitely simplifies complex issues and across groups, even age. Okay, one drawing represents a lot of text.
Yeah.
Better retention. Yeah. People remember the information for much longer. Then the summarizing of the material. And we can see Erick creating some amazing images based on what we're discussing and having to really think on his feet and think on the spot, think quickly about how to visualize what it is that we're discussing. Any more thoughts? Is there anything I skipped? Helps to keep attention. It's important in our time of overflowing information. Oh, yes, Alicia. Especially with social media and a lot. We're living in a very high information, high content load kind of era. So there's so much that people are looking at, so much that people are interacting with, so much that people are trying to remember, to think about. So having an image at least is easier, makes it easier to captivate people. Okay, capture thoughts and feelings, metaphysical into physical. Oh, wow. I like that, yeah. Metaphysical into physical. I've never described our practice like that, but I like that. I'll be using that moving forward. Then can help, what is that? Can help to build a consensus during conflict situations. Yes. Alicia, have you ever seen that in your practice?
Really not yet, but I'm really looking forward for it. because I believe that a drawing is a way where it gives us a way to do something together with our own hands. And when we use our hands and we have one paper together, it means that we need to really collaborate and communicate.
Absolutely. Very true. Very true. Easy to share. Easy to share, most definitely. Even online, especially with our phones, it's easier to send an image to somebody else if you want them to also have a look at the content, put it on your page or print it out. And people will keep it as well, because very text-heavy pamphlets, you'll find people will pick it up and then probably just discard it. But when it's images, people connect with it a lot more and want to keep it. It's a way to relax and let new ideas roam in your head. Ooh, I love these. I love these. Inspiring creativity. Yeah. I hope for you all who've joined the session today that it's been able to inspire your creativity and has also let you engage a bit more with that part of your mind and that part of yourself as well. Because sometimes in our work, we find maybe we do a lot of writing, we do a lot of talking, and it gets exhausting, it gets tiring. But then when you draw and when you're creative, it allows you to take a moment to breathe. So we hope that this session has given you that moment to breathe as well.
Yeah.
We can check in.
Mijide and Erick, and while seeing Erick doing this like live, I was looking at a question that Erick posted here is, do you have go-to drawings to use to capture recurring concepts? So basically, do you cheat or not?
Oh, okay. Well, if you put it that way, I mean, so personally, I do use references sometimes. Like maybe I'll be in a meeting and we're talking about the topic of agriculture, and I need something very specific, like maybe a crop or somebody picking a crop. Then I normally have my phone on standby, so I'll look for an image online and then get inspiration from there and draw. I don't know if I'm the only one. Okay, I'm very anti-AI. Like, it depends, I guess, on the need. But when I'm doing this kind of work, I really try to make sure that it's me that's putting the pen to paper or to screen. So I'll have something on standby just for a reference on occasion. But then there's some images that you keep drawing, like now the one of the hand with the heart to signify care, love. That's something we tend to see repeated. So you draw it so much that it becomes second nature. So for a lot of the images, for faces and such, it's more second nature. But for those that we don't quite draw all the time, you use a reference. Yeah. So for me, Google is it. Like Google Images. Were there any other questions in the
I'm
chat?
just looking at the screen and I love how like seeing people trying to replicate what Erick is doing. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. One really has to be attentive. Like you said, you have to really be alert as the session is ongoing and be mindful of your bathroom breaks when you go to the bathroom. Yeah. Were there any other questions in the chat? I think I'd seen a couple. As facilitators, we could be comfortable using it.
Yep.
What's your suggestion to get participants to get comfortable with such tools? I don't know if Parinita is still on the call. The tools, is it Canva? No, that was Erica's question. To get participants, the participants themselves.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly reassurance because people may not be confident in their skill, so they don't want to give it a go. But then if we create an environment where they feel safe enough to express themselves without judgment or without feeling like you need to draw something of a certain standard, then I think people will feel a lot safer to do so. But I have had an experience where you go to a meeting and you give people the tools, but if you don't give them like a kind of guide as to how free you want them to be, they're still going to be a bit restricted. So those people ended up using the markers and colors to write notes. So it's like, that was not the aim. So creating an environment where they can feel a bit more comfortable to express themselves and to feel like it's okay to be quote unquote a kid again. Because sometimes people associate color pencils, drawing with being a kid. But it's really just being creative, and we each have that part in us. Yeah. Erica wants a screen capture of this slide. Is that possible? A screen capture of the slide. Then a tech question. How do you share your iPad screen? I'll leave that one to Erick to ask, to answer, because he's using two devices. So he has his iPad and then he has his MacBook. So there's a way he's working across. I think there was a name.
I'm really afraid to click on the link that David just shared because of the name.
Smelly markers.
No, you should. It's one of the members of IAF France put it up recently, and she actually said it's a good icebreaker because you get people smelling the markers and they smell like of chocolate and strawberries, and it's a little thing. It might be your thing. It's out there anyway, and one of our members uses it from time to time. And there's some very weird smells, I believe. Nacho cheese, for example.
Natural cheese?
Nacho cheese smelling markers.
Oh, nacho cheese.
Yeah, buttery popcorn, root beer, licorice.
Oh, wow.
So, rotten melon.
That's very creative.
It could be, could break the ice.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, you could probably be a bad facilitator and give the rotten melon marker to the difficult in the room.
You can make them compete for the best one. So who wins, he has to choose the first. Oh, you know what? It can be a way to make people to be on time. If you are late, you will get not a very good smelling marker.
Oh yeah, that's a good punishment. I see. Is it Erica who said, "I love Mr. Sketch"? Is it a type of? Wait, is that the marker? Oh, that's the marker.
Random marker, yeah.
Mr. Sketch. Okay. Always in my kit. Oh, Erica, are you a graphic recorder? Or
No, just for note taking.
for note taking. Oh, cool.
Normal stuff.
All right, but less unpleasant than Sharpie.
You have another question.
Mm-hmm.
It's Erick, right? Yeah, Erick is still drawing stuff, and we finished talking. So does that mean that he or someone took notes for him, or he just has an incredible memory and remembers what we said and is still drawing?
Erick, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. I'll leave him to answer.
I hope you guys can hear me. So yes, I have perfected. Okay, when you do this long enough, you kind of train yourself to retain a lot of information. I don't know if you can see just the second point. There's a small faded. Let me just increase. You can see there's something faded. So that is one of the tricks that I use. So I use a layer that I write down the notes very quickly that only myself can see, so that I can be able to keep up with the conversation. If that is not possible, I do always have a notebook next to me. In another way, I'm cheating. As you can see, there's a comment from Erica that said, I tried drawing when everyone talked, but it is hard to keep up. I'm just using the charts just to see, okay, what's happening and how everything is going. So you could say I'm cheating there. Just to answer your tech question, how do I share my iPad screen? So the beauty of using Apple products is there's a way they're integrated seamlessly. And Zoom has a feature when you click the sharing your screen. So you do have a bunch of options, but for Apple products, I'm not sure about any other product. There's an option called AirPlay. It's kind of the same way that it's like casting. If you know what casting is, it's like you're casting, but now you're casting the iPad screen onto the laptop. And the way this specific software that I'm using called Procreate, so I'm able to rotate my canvas, I'm able to zoom in and out, but you cannot be able to see that. So there's a way that Procreate has integrated with Zoom to do that. On other platforms such as Google Meet, it does not work as well. However, if you do have, let's say, for example, you do have a Windows computer or any other operating system computer aside from Apple products, you can connect your device through a cable. So there's also an option, or if you go to click screen share, you can go to advanced, and there's usually at the very top, there's an advanced. Let me just draw it. Yes, to make it very simple. Oops. Which can do that. So suppose this is your screen, right? And then you do have all your options down here. Now, when you click this green for sharing your screen, so a pop-up will usually turn up. So if you have many tabs open, you will have all those tabs open. And then if you're using an Apple product, it's usually around this area right here. Yeah. So it will be something like AirPlay or connect with table. Yeah. Table. That is if you have an Apple product. For example, if you do not have an Apple product, I'll take you to the right side of the screen at the very top. So you do have all your bunch of windows or tabs if you have open. And then at the very top here, you'll see basic, advanced, I can't quite remember the other one. So when you click this advanced tab, what you're going to see is bunch of, so for example, if you're doing hand drawn, but you want to connect it, so you can connect your phone, and then you'll see a bunch of options. I can't quite remember what they are, but you can see connect via a different monitor or different device. So you'll see a bunch of options that are available there, and that is how you can connect your device if you have another device. It's generally very simple, especially if you have a cable, but I know this is a bias, but I do prefer Apple products just because of the seamless connectivity in between devices. So I hope that answers your question.